Bezat Hashem Na'aseh V'Nasliach. I would like to thank everyone for coming tonight to our first lecture of Totat Shalom. My name is Igal Yazdinian, and some of you who know me already know that I usually speak once every other week at this shul, HCC, Hebrew Community Center of Santa Monica. And the reason I opened this group, Totat Shalom group, is to bring people closer to Torah observance. I see that a lot of our Jewish brethren, a lot of the Persian Jewish community is not aware of why it's important to keep the Torah. A lot of people just think it's a joke. They think, okay, well, the Torah, yeah, if I keep it, good. If I don't keep it, whatever. God doesn't care. He's not really involved in my life. I could do whatever I want. It's really traditional. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not like that. It's not about traditional. There are consequences if we don't keep it. And if we do keep it, Be'ezat Hashem, if we do keep it, there's a big reward for us. So one thing that really troubled me about the young people is that they're going and marrying other people who are non-Jewish. They're marrying outside their religion. And this really bothered me. And I thought to myself, well, what can I do to come and help? What can I do to come and help these young people, to bring them back to Judaism? And I came up with a list of a couple of things, maybe. And probably this is not all the list, but the most important things that young people need to understand and they need to do in order not to marry outside the Jewish population. Why is this important, first of all? Why am I even bringing this up? One of the first topics. First of all, there's a silent Holocaust going on. We thought the Holocaust of 70, 80 years ago was really bad. But the Holocaust that's going on now is even worse, but not a lot of people are talking about it. And unfortunately, many people don't like to talk about the truths of the Torah. They like to hide a lot of things. When you go to a doctor, you always want to go to a doctor that's going to tell you the truth. You want to go to a doctor that's going to tell you what your condition is and what you need to do in order to get better. Same with Judaism. You don't want to go to someone who calls themselves a rabbi who hides the truth. So there should be understanding that if you do not keep the Torah, there are consequences, and the consequences are very negative. I'm not here to talk about the negative consequences. I just want to tell you that if a person doesn't keep it, there are not going to be good consequences. And if a person does, there will be blessing. There will be a reward. And we need to understand this. And this is not the lecture. I'm not here right now to talk about the reward. I'm not here to talk about how we know the Torah is true right now. This is just our first lecture. So I'm going to try to keep it very light. So, first of all, why is it important to keep the Torah? Many people, they think, okay, well, if I keep Shabbat, it's good. If I don't keep Shabbat, whatever, it's not a big deal. Or if I keep kosher, it's okay. If I don't eat kosher, it's not a big deal. One of the main reasons for keeping the Torah is obviously because God said so, Hashem said so. But another reason that I think is really important in this generation is so that our children remain Jewish. If a parent cares about keeping Shabbat, the child looks up to the parent, and there's a higher chance that the child is going to keep Shabbat. And why is it important to keep Shabbat? Because when you keep Shabbat, there's a distinction between you, who are keeping Shabbat, and the rest of the world who isn't keeping Shabbat properly. And when you make that distinction, your children learn, we are different. We're not the same as Joe Schmo. We're not the same as our neighbor who's not Jewish. We're different. And when they realize they're different, they're not going to want to go out and marry non-Jewish people. So that's really the importance of keeping Shabbat, keeping the Torah in essence, but mostly keeping Shabbat, keeping kosher, and keeping family purity. These three, every Jew has to keep. especially these three, and I'm only pinpointing these three because it really distinguishes the Jewish population between the other people, the non-Jews. So, one thing I want to talk about today is that a person needs to have faith in God. They need to have faith in God. Without having faith, your life is going to be not good. It's going to be like, God forbid, hell on this earth. So what do I mean by having faith in God? First of all, we need to understand that whatever happens in our lives, even the tiniest detail, we need to understand that it comes from God and He's sending us a message. How do we know this? From where do we learn this? It's actually in this week's parasha, Parashat Vayeshev. So we see in this week's parasha when the brothers decided to sell off Yosef, their younger brother, they sold him as a slave to the Ishmaelim. And the Torah says the Ishmaelim were carrying good smelling spices. It's very interesting. The Torah tells us that detail. Why would I want to know what the Ishmaelites, what were they carrying? What's the Torah trying to teach us there? So they say usually the Chachamim say, the sages say that usually the Ishmaelim, you know what they sold? They sold stuff like gasoline. And they sold bad smelling things. Like, right now in the Arab countries, what do they have a lot? They have a lot of gasoline. That's what their country is made of mostly, and they're making a lot of money off that, right? So, why is the Torah telling us this? This still doesn't answer the question. So let's look at Yosef's perspective right now. He's being sold as a slave, right? How is he feeling? He's feeling very terrible. Very terrible. He's saying, wow, look at what my brothers did. They wanted to kill me. Now they sold me as a slave. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going to be with my life. So Hashem brings in this detail in the Torah, specifically allows the brothers to sell him to the Ishmaelim who are selling good spices, good smelling spices, in order to tell Yosef, I understand that right now you feel very low. I understand that right now you feel like, your life is over. But I want you to understand that I'm with you. I want you to understand this small detail that usually the Ishmaelim should be selling something that is bad smell. But no, I'm bringing you a hint that I'm telling you I'm with you. I'm still here. Don't give up, Yosef, on your life. And we see Yosef becomes a successful person. He never gives up on his life. He never says, Hashem sold me out. That's it. He continues to pray and he continues to believe in Hashem. And that's what we need to do as Jews. We need to continue to believe in every detail in our life that Hashem is helping us, that Hashem is there, He's guiding us, and we need to trust Him. Right? One other thing we need to do is we need to be kind to other people. We need to treat others with respect. Whether they're Jewish or non-Jewish. There's actually a very famous story about the Holocaust. And they say there was this one family, a father and son. They sold chocolates. That was their business. That was their business in Germany. And as we all know, the night of Kristallnacht happened, where the German population, the Nazis got up and they burned a lot of synagogues. And they burned a lot of stores. They broke a lot of windows. So the next day after this event, the father and son decide to go and check out their store to see what happened. So as they get closer to the street, they see that all the stores, the windows are broken, they're looted. Some stores are they're burnt down. So the father turns to the son and says, probably our store there's nothing left of it. So they reach their store and surprisingly they see that, wow, our store is perfect. Nothing happened to it. It's standing the way it is. So the kid turns to his father and says, Abba, let's charge double or triple the price. There's no one here. There's no competition. We're the only one who has chocolate in the whole block. Now we could charge more. The father says, what are you talking about? You want to cheat people in this manner? This is what you want to do? People are suffering out there. Now you want to cheat them? We're going to leave the same prices. So they go in, they open the store. A couple hours later, a Nazi comes with his car to the store. Dressed in a Nazi uniform, he gets out of the car, and the father and son, they look out and they say, oh, now it's probably our turn. Now they're coming for our store. So the guy walks into the store, and he looks at the father and he asks him, do you know who I am? The father looks at him and says, yeah, weren't you the person who delivered the chocolates to the whole block? The man said, yeah, it was me. He was dressed in a Nazi uniform now. And he said, do you know why your store is still standing? And the father said, no, I wonder what happened. So the Nazi said to him, he said, last night, as you know, they were breaking all these stores. They were looting everything. I stood by your store the whole night and told whoever wanted to come and loot and break your glass and do whatever, burn down your place, not to do it. This is a special place. I guarded your place. And he said, do you want to know why I did this? The father said, sure, please tell us. He said, every time I came and delivered chocolates to all this block, and the whole block was Jewish, and every time no one respected me. No one once said, oh, you want help? No one once said, do you want a cup of water? Is everything okay? No one liked me. No one cared about me. The only one that did that was you. Whenever I came and delivered chocolates to your store, you came and said hi, you helped me, you brought me some water, you cared about me. So now I'm repaying you back. I remembered that. How can I do this to you? How can I allow your store to go bad? So we see here from this story that it's very important to respect everyone. And a lot of these non-Jews, they see if we don't respect them, maybe they hold a grudge and later they come and God forbid they do something bad to us. But this also requires emunah. We have to understand that whoever we respect, Hashem is going to respect us back in other ways. One other thing in life we need to understand is that we need to know that not always do we have to have the best things in order to succeed in life. We always think, only if I went to that school I'm going to succeed. Only if I had that car I would succeed in getting married. Only if I had this, I would succeed in the business. It's not necessarily true. There's actually another story, and I think I'm going to finish my lecture with this story, B'ezrat Hashem. It's about a story of a person who lost his job. And he couldn't find a job. He looked this way, that way, whatever he did, nothing. He couldn't find anything. So he decided to apply to be a janitor. So he goes in for the interview. They have to interview you for a janitor position. And the guy says, I think you'll be a good janitor, sure. So the guy asks, okay, when do I come in? When do I start? He's like, okay, we will email you your schedule for next week. So the guy says, oh, I'm very sorry. I do not have an email. So he tells him, what? In this day and age, you don't have an email? How could this be? How could you not have an email? Get out of here. I can't even work with you. You can't even be a janitor. So he tells him to get out, and tearfully he gets out and he tells himself, I can't even be a janitor. What can I do? So with the last dollars he had in his pocket, he had an idea. He went and bought some watermelons, and he set it up aside in a small corner on the street, and he cut the watermelons in a nice fashion, in like a design fashion, and he started to sell them to see if anyone would buy. So fortunately for him, people liked his design and how he cut the watermelon, and they decided to buy from him. So he made a little more extra few bucks. So every day he decided to buy different fruits and to cut them in different shapes and sizes and figures and decide to sell them like that. So as time went by, he actually saw that he's making good profit. After a while, he actually got a small store for himself. And this store actually did very, very well. People really liked what he did, the designs he made. They came and bought and became more rich and opened up more stores and more stores. And after a while, he became rich. He became very rich and wealthy. So he decided to sell all these stores that he has in order to go to a different business venture. So they came to finalize the selling of the stores. And, they told them, okay, we will email you the contract. So the owner said, I'm sorry, I don't have an email address. So the guy tells them, the buyer says, wow, such a person like you with all these different stores, you don't have an email address? He tells them, you know what? If I had an email address right now, I would be a janitor. I wouldn't be the owner of all these stores. And who is the owner of all these stores? Edible Arrangements. I'm sure all of you know about Edible Arrangements. So we see here that we don't always have to have the best in life. We always think, yeah, if I have this, I'll get that girl. I'll be able to marry her. She'll like me. It's not always the case. It's what Hashem wants. It's having confidence in God. It's telling him, you know what, Hashem, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to do what I have to do. If it happens, thank you. If it doesn't happen, I still have to thank you. Our sages say that the same way we make a blessing for good things, God forbid for bad things that happen in our lives, which in reality it's not really bad. We think it's bad. We have to say make a blessing also. So I'm hoping that in the future we can make more lectures. We could bring more people in, and we could teach the young people that the Torah observance is very important. They need to start observing Torah. Everyone needs to observe Torah. Just as I need to observe it, the biggest rabbi in the world needs to observe it, you all need to observe it. And if we don't, there are consequences. And we could talk about those consequences later. But this lecture I wanted to keep light. I wanted to talk about something small. And Be'ezrat Hashem help us, we shall grow and bring more lectures and more events in the future. Shalom Aleichem. Thank you for coming. Thank you for learning with me. Have a great night. Thank you.